Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is an episode of George Versus. Now if you're not familiar with George Versus, it's where I take on a topic and I give you my unbridled commentary and opinion on said topic. Now the topic of this episode, the WWE and the current state of affairs in the company. Let's jump right into it with the stuff that I see that's really frustrating to me. First thing I want to talk about is the total divas, total bullshit. Now, I'm going to preface this. A lot of people know, and I'm not afraid to admit, I watch Total Divas. I record it every week. I don't even know why. I don't really like the show. Every once in a while something interesting does happen. To me it's, I don't know. I have no idea why. Maybe it's Vince McMahon brainwashing after all these years. However, I dislike the fact that the show and its crappy storylines are affecting what I'm seeing on Main Event, on SmackDown, on Monday Night Raw, Superstars, and even crapping into NXT at this point. Most of the women on the Total Divas shows are what I would consider your lower tier women's division talent, the Camerons, the Eva Marie's, the Rosa Mendez's. You know, they got one extremely good wrestler on the show in Natalia, and they got one somewhat good wrestler in Cameron, or actually, I'm sorry, Naomi. But the rest of them are total shit. The Bella Twins are okay in the ring, they're not great. Cameron is horrible, Eva Marie is horrible, Summer Rae is good, not great. Rosa Mendez has never been good. And I don't think she's ever even had a win on WWE television. But the storylines seeping in, the problem is the storylines on that show are okay for that show. However, once they start bringing them over into Raw, there's something missing. And it's just total bullshit to me. It's the wrong way to run a division which could be used in a better way. I really, really think that the women's division, the Divas division, whatever the hell you want to call it, is a huge marketing opportunity for a whole new audience, along with some established audience, to come into the product. And I hate making the same argument I always make when I say this, but it's the Ronda Rousey effect. Ronda Rousey, one of the biggest stars, arguably the biggest star in mixed martial arts right now, huge pay-per-view draw. Why is WWE not creating a Ronda Rousey? Why is there not a huge women's division star? Why isn't Paige the new Ronda Rousey? Why are we getting caught with the same, there's the same storylines they've been doing forever. You got the crazy chicks, the boyfriend or girlfriends of wrestlers, the former best friends or former sisters or whatever you would call it, that are against each other over jealousy. To me, it's very insulting what they do with the division. And it's really a missed marketing opportunity. I think any one of these women, Paige has a quality that the fans want to see. She has that it factor. AJ Lee is a tremendous wrestler. She has a tremendous skill set. Natalia, one of the best wrestlers in the world, women or men. Some of the women down in NXT, specifically Charlotte and Bayley, are amazing. Yet we're treated to total diva, total bullshit instead of seeing great women's wrestling matches. Which leads me to my next point. The reluctance to push or advance the career of certain wrestlers. Guys, we all know who they are. Guys that the fans have latched onto and said, this guy is awesome. I want to see more of him. Guys like Zack Ryder. Guys like Kofi Kingston. Guys like even Dolph Ziggler, who only get a measure of success. Guys like Cesaro. The fans have gone and said, hey, we like this guy. We want to see more of this guy. Yet the WWE is reluctant to push him because they weren't in their long-term planning. They didn't plan for Cesaro to be a big star. They didn't plan for Zack Ryder to get over. They didn't plan for Kofi Kingston to make it big. They didn't plan for any of these guys to be people that we latch on to, so they refused to give us them as something to cheer for. And I think it hurts the overall product. You know, a guy, they didn't plan for Stone Cold Steve Austin to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. They wanted him to come in and be a guy that just wrestled excellent matches on the show and call him the ringmaster. You know what happened to their plans there? The guy took a microphone, said what he said, did what he did, and he got over better than anybody in the history of wrestling. A guy like Zack Ryder took a camera into his house, produced a YouTube show when the WWE had nothing to do for him, and he got over. What did they do? They shut the show down and they took him off of TV. They jobbed him out to the point where fans barely even remember that he was someone that was a huge star on his own. Stuff like this just really adds to the frustration of what you see on the show. When you see a guy that you know could be better than what they're giving him, a guy like Cesaro, who had all the momentum in the world coming out of WrestleMania. He was a new Paul Heyman guy. He won the first ever Andre the Giant Battle Royal. What has he done since? Nothing. Inexplicably, he's dropped from being a Paul Heyman guy. We didn't even get a feud coming out of that like we should have. I mean, it's very frustrating, and it gives me headaches just thinking of how they've missed the boat on some of these guys, and some of these guys could have been much bigger and still have the opportunity to, if just given the proper chance. Which brings me to my next thing the next topic, the break-even booking. It is mind-numbingly stupid to have the booking the way it is. Case in point is The Miz. I'm going to give you this. I'm not a Miz fan. He's a guy, I don't hate him, I don't like him, he's just there for me. But twice this year, and this will lead into something I talk about later as well, The Miz has lost won a world not a world title, an Intercontinental title on a pay-per-view, only to lose it the very next night. And he's just the easiest example. A lot of times in feuds we see someone like Bray Wyatt getting a win and then the next week losing to the same guy. And we see the same matches over and over again. The Usos and Goldust and Stardust. One week the Usos win, the next week Goldust and Stardust win. It doesn't give anybody any traction. They really should have tiers. There should be an upper tier of wrestlers, guys on the level of Randy Orton, John Cena, guys that are the top tier. Maybe a Roman Reigns in there, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, guys up there. Then a second tier that fall into your Intercontinental U.S. title area. Guys kind of like Cesaro, guys like Jack Swagger. Rusev seems to be someone they're pushing to that in that area now. I mean, you put some guys like Rob Van Dam, Y2J in that middle area there. Then you got guys that are a little bit lower. Guys that are, guys like Heath Slater, Titus O'Neil, guys like that are on the show and get wins on the show, but should really be used in a way, and I'm not knocking this, I'm not saying make these guys jobbers and bring back the jobber matches, because nobody wants to see that, but would you really be surprised if Randy Orton got beat by Heath Slater at this point? You wouldn't, but you should be. It should be an amazing feat if a guy on the level of Titus O'Neil could beat a guy on the level of the Big Show. But it's not. Do you know why? Because of the way it's booked. Because even if Titus O'Neil beats the Big Show, guess what happens the next week? Big Show beats him back. So all the momentum you just gave Titus O'Neil, you lose back right away. Which brings me right into our next topic, which I kind of touched on a bit there with The Miz, is that the titles losing any prestige on it. Now, what they're doing with Brock Lesnar, I think, is actually adding to the prestige of the World Heavyweight title. Because if you really think about it, if you go back to the days of Hulk Hogan and even the early days of Monday Night Raw, the World Champion wasn't on the show every week. Hulk Hogan, if you got him on Saturday Superstars or Wrestling Challenge for more than just a promo, if you got a Hulk Hogan match on one of those shows, it was once every 2 months. Now, he'd do a little promo here and there, or do a Piper's Pit, or stuff of that nature, but you didn't really see Hulk Hogan wrestle on free TV. You seen him wrestle on the pay-per-views, or the house shows, or whatever, however they promoted it at the time. Now, the Attitude Era and the Monday Night War kind of made that shift into an area where you needed to put your world champion on every week because the competition was doing that. And if you wanted to see people keep watching your show, you did that as well. And I don't mind them having the world champion on every week. Really don't. But make it more prestigious. Make it be there's a reason why he's defending the title. Somebody deserves a title shot. Not just anybody. Not just, okay, Brock Lesnar. And they're doing great with Brock Lesnar. Don't get me wrong, I like where they're going. But the other titles as well. The tag team titles is pretty much an afterthought. The U.S. title, no knock on Sheamus. I think he's a good representative for that. And I think that's a good title for him. It means absolutely nothing because of the way it's been booked. The Intercontinental title. One of the most prestigious titles in all of wrestling. It means nothing. Not a damn thing at all. Now, they could though. They could. Why not? Why not, while you're doing commentary during an Intercontinental title match, mention how guys like Randy Macho Man Savage, Stone Cold Steve Austin, guys like The Rock have used the Intercontinental title and used it as a stepping stone to get to the World Championship, to become better and face better competition. Or why not mention guys like Razor Ramon, like Goldust, guys like Ricky Steamboat, Mr. Perfect, guys that you have in your Hall of Fame, or should be in your Hall of Fame in the case of Goldust, that the highest level they could reach was the Intercontinental title. And that's not a knock on them. The highest level that one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, Roddy Piper, made in the WWE was Intercontinental Champion. Mr. Perfect, one of the greatest in-ring talents that ever lived. Best he could do, Intercontinental Champion. No knock on either of those guys. They're great talents. The point that I'm trying to get is, that is an important belt. You need to make it back to being important. The U.S. title, make that important again. Make the tag championship important. At a point, there was a point when the tag team, being a tag team champion, was just as regarded as being a world champion. Guys like Legion of Doom, guys like the Dudley Boys, Demolition, guys really wanted to be tag team champions. The British Bulldogs, the Hart Foundation. There were teams and wrestlers that honestly strive just as much to be world tag team champions as they did to be world heavyweight champions. And that should be that prominence again. But it's not. And it all has to do with the booking. And the last point I really want to make on this is the inability to create new stars. Now, you're going to say, well, they're making Roman Reigns a star, they're making Dean Ambrose a star, they're making Seth Rollins a star. I would argue it's too young on any of those three's tenure in the WWE to include them. So let's take them out of the equation. We'll put them to the side. Yeah, they might be great stars in the future, but let's take a real look at this. In the last 10 years, we'll even go 12 years, since John Cena and Randy Orton, Batista, and Brock Lesnar came into WWE all around the same time, and all four of those guys made it to that upper echelon, became megastars, became bankable talents. Who else have they made? Have they made John Morrison a star? No. CM Punk, you could argue that they reluctantly made him a big player, and no doubt about it, he was a big player in the WWE. But was that the WWE's idea? No, he pretty much did that on his own. The guys they tried to make, guys like Sheamus, they pushed way too early, and it ruined anybody from caring. They did the same thing with Alberto Del Rio. One of the great in-ring talents, they pushed him way too early, and the fans got sick of him really quick. Now, they also missed the boats on some guys that they should have pushed more. Guys like Ryback, who had a rocket ship up his ass, and they decided to give him, unexplicably, put him into the main event when he wasn't ready for it. And now Ryback is an afterthought. Guys like Titus O'Neil, who could have been main eventers, that they never really put a push behind. Guys like John Morrison, who the fans clamored to be a main event guy, never got behind. Kofi Kingston, guy that easily could have been a main eventer. Do you know how many kids in the audience love Kofi Kingston? Do you know how many adults love Kofi Kingston? Think he's a great wrestler? Nothing. They missed the boat on so much talent. It's like the guys that have made it to the top, the Daniel Bryans and the CM Punks, made it in spite of what they did, not because of what they did. Now you have younger guys and newer talent, guys like Cesaro, guys like Bray Wyatt, who we're seeing they're getting there and they're butting their head against the glass ceiling, but the glass is so thick at this point that no one really is getting through. And it has a lot to do with the break-even booking. It has a lot to do with the importance of the world title, the importance of the Intercontinental title. A guy like Bad News Barrett holding the Intercontinental title should have said, hey, this guy's one of our next stars. Not, okay, he's the Intercontinental Champion, big deal. The inability to create new main event level stars has severely hindered the WWE. And it's made it to a point where you lose a couple guys. You have a Roman Reigns going out, a Daniel Bryan going out. It really puts a damper on the whole show. I mean, if you watch the show, no one's a star. The only real star they have is John Cena. Randy Orton can be argued. Seth Rollins, yeah, maybe. Dean Ambrose is working his way up there. But realistically, it's only a matter of time before they find a way to put these guys in a situation that makes John Cena look like he's better than them. And this is no knock, no John Cena hatred video. I respect John Cena. I think everything he does, the merchandise he sells for the company, the Make-A-Wish stuff he does, and the fact I honestly do think he's a way better wrestler than anybody gives him credit for. Fact of the matter is, the reluctancy to push new talent into positions where, let's say John Cena were to get injured right now, who's your world champion, or who's your other, I mean, I know Brock Lesnar is your champion, but who's your main event on Monday Night Raw? Randy Orton? They've made him look like shit over the last 2 years. They made it look like Randy Orton can't win a match without being helped. Dean Ambrose? They made him look like a lunatic. Seth Rollins? Just like Randy Orton, he can't win a match unless somebody helps him. Cesaro? Does anybody believe that he could be a world champion now? Do we want him to be? Hell yeah, we do. Do we want a guy like Damian Sandow, who's a joke right now, to be getting more? Yeah, we thought he was awesome. Us fans, we thought he was great. You bookers, you WWE matchmakers decided to make him a shitty character, and he's done awesome in it. He's blown it out of the water. But it's just so frustrating that the fact that either they don't know how to, or they just don't care to make new stars and make a next generation of guys going forward. And I know everybody says there's a ton of talent down in NXT. Kevin Steen, Hideo Itami, Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, Adrian Neville, guys that have been stars all over the world. But do you really trust that they're going to be stars in the WWE after the way that Bo Dallas has been treated, how he's kind of been made an afterthought, after Adam Rose, who had a huge following in NXT, has been turned into nothing but a silly joke, where the most over thing about him is the fact that he has a bunny in his entourage. Guys like Xavier Woods that were never even given a chance. Biggie Langston, who they brought up, rode for a little bit and discarded him. Same thing they're going to do with Rusev. Rusev's going to be discarded after a while. Rusev's on that same trajectory. The Wyatt family, who had a chance to really be something special, and I really think they've already squandered that opportunity. Now, it's still there. The window's still open to make the Wyatt family and Bray Wyatt something historically special, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think they really don't know what they have and don't know how to use it. But overall, the whole direction of the WWE, it needs a shakeup. It needs a new attitude era. It needs a new direction. It needs something different. Or else, you're eventually going to erode away. At the height of the Attitude Era, the WWE was getting 7 million viewers a week. They're now getting 3. Eventually, you're going to erode that away to 1 million. Then once you get down in that million area, really, as us fans get older, us Attitude Era fans get older, and the kids that are growing up since then start to get older, and some of us move away from wrestling and stop watching wrestling or pass away even, or life just gets in our way, and the guys that remember how great wrestling used to be, they're going to slowly leave, and the new generation of fans isn't being given anything that's great. They're being given spoon-fed horse shit by the WWE. And I don't blame them if they don't stick around, and I don't blame them if they don't continue to be fans. Wrestling should be 10 times as popular as it is now. WWE winning the Monday Night War should have made them twice as big, not half as big. But that's all my opinion. I think the total direction is total garbage. I think the shit needs to be turned around. I think a new direction is needed. And I think the WWE needs to get off their ass, start listening to its fans, and start giving us a little bit of what we want. They did it with Daniel Bryan. And if he didn't injure himself, they would have cashed in. They would have made millions of dollars over Daniel Bryan being a main eventer after the year of torturing us with giving us the tease of him being a main eventer. They would have made a boatload of money. Unfortunately, he got injured. But that shows you that they don't have a next man up. When Steve Austin got injured, The Rock and Triple H came out and said, we're the next men up. It's what it should be. It's how the business should run. You should have guys ready to take that spot. There should be guys on that roster that are clamoring to take that next spot. But basically, that's all I have to say on this topic. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of George Versus.